Welcome to the channel. My name's Ollie, we're Own Developments, and today we're in the new YouTube studio because we've got a brand new series just for you guys. The idea is simple. We've got 2 minutes, we're going to get as much information to you as humanly possible. It's called 2 Minute Tuesday. Let's get into it. As a turbo company, one of the most common questions we get asked is 1, how much does it cost to rebuild a turbo? And 2, how long does it take and what goes into it? So that's today's topic. Let's hit the timer and get into it. First off, what does a basic rebuild involve? The thing that generally wears out the first on a turbo are the ring seals. It's often thought that these are like O-rings, but in actual fact, they're more like piston rings. These primarily come in 2 forms and they're either slotted or stepped. These don't actually provide a full seal, but it's because they don't need to, because the piston ring itself needs lubrication. You have exhaust gas pressure in the turbine housing, oil pressure in the bearing housing, and compressed air in the compressor cover. These pressures counteract each other, much like 2 magnetic fields repelling each other. The exhaust gas pressure in the turbine housing pushes against the oil pressure in the bearing housing, counteracting each other and keeping each one at bay. That is until the clearance around the ring becomes too excessive. The other ring that gets replaced is the compressor ring. This works in the same sort of way that the turbine ring does, in that you've got oil pressure in the bearing housing, but this time you've got compressed air in the compressor cover, both doing the same sort of thing. But why do these wear out? As a turbo generates boost, axial load is placed on the turbo as the shaft spins. Imagine the turbo is trying to thrust itself back and forth as it makes boost. The more aggressive the power curve is, the quicker you're going to burn through the turbo rings or a thrust bearing. When a turbo gets rebuilt, both of these rings will be replaced, but you often find that when the wear becomes too excessive, it starts to eat into the turbine shaft, and quite often light machining is required to bring clearances back to OE tolerances. The seal plate doesn't generally suffer from too much wear, but you often find that this will need some form of attention, and sometimes it needs to be replaced. The other component that's directly affected by piston ring wear is the bearing housing. Like the seal plate, this generally doesn't need too much attention, but in super high or aggressive boost applications, this is a component that can be worn as well. From start to finish, the rebuild process usually takes between 3 to 4 hours, depending on complexity. And in this time frame, it's super important that all the components are thoroughly checked. This time allocation allows us to check, rebuild, and balance all the components to the highest of standards. It's vital that all the components of the turbo are balanced properly to 1, prolong the life of the turbo, to help it spin as efficiently as it can, and to ensure that there's no vibration in any of the components. I'm sure you've seen the video of the brick in the washing machine. You don't want that to be your turbo. Of course, you can't always save the major components, but we'll always do what we can. So, how do you prolong the life of your turbo? Number 1, make sure the oil drain of your turbo and all your engine breathing systems are clear. This will reduce excessive crankcase pressure. Number 2, invest in a high quality air filter. You'd be surprised how many turbos we have come back to us with poor air intake filtration damage because they've got a low quality filter. We generally recommend something like an ITG because they seem to have the most success in reducing poor air intake filtration damage, but anything that's high quality like a K&N or a Piper Cross, or something that's going to have like a high quality mesh and reduce the amount of crap that comes through to the compressor wheel. And stop the timer. That's it from me today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you've got something out of it. This has been the first episode of 2 Minute Tuesday. If you liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one.